This video will discuss questions 9 through 11 on your Unit A review. So remember, you'll be given the formulas for finding midpoint and distance on your test, but I'm going to go ahead and put them here as well. If you have 2 points for your midpoint, you're going to add your two x's together and divide by 2. Add your two y's together and divide by 2. That's all you're doing for midpoint. Your distance is a little bit different. You're going to take the square root. You're going to actually subtract your x's and then square it, and then subtract your y's, and then square it, and then add those two numbers together and take the square root. So let's start with A and E. So the point A is 3, 4. So I'm just going to write that over here. And the point E is 2, -1. And I'm just getting that from over here, in case you were wondering. Now I'm going to zoom in on this so we can have a little bit more room to work. Oops. Okay, so for a midpoint, we first need to just label x1, y. Pinned to right. Start with our midpoint. So add your x's, divide by 2. Add your y's, divide by 2. 1 plus -2 is -1. Divided by 2 is either -1/2 or -0.5. 0 plus 5 is 5. Divided by 2 is 2.5. So there's your midpoint. And once again, we can check that really quick and just see if that makes sense. So we have -0.5, 2.5 is about right here, and that does look like it's about halfway between F and B. All right, let's go ahead and find the distance. So you need to be able to see those. Okay, so we're going to do square root. And we're going to do x2 minus x1 squared and y2 minus y1 squared. So -2 minus 1 is -3, and 5 minus 0 is 5. -3 squared is 9, 5 squared is 25, and 9 plus 25 is 34. So BF equals the square root of 34, which is about 5.8. So you would say it is 5.8 units. So make sure you read directions, especially the test, because this said to find the exact distance and midpoint between each set of points. You'll be given those formulas, but you still have to know how to use those. Okay, so number 11 asks about the midpoint of QR is M -6, -4, and one endpoint is Q2, -3, and then it says find the coordinates of the other endpoint. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, okay, I don't know my coordinates, so I'm going to call them X and Y, because that's what we do with things we don't know. And so I'm going to use my formula for midpoint, and I'm going to say, okay, if I'm finding the midpoint between these 2 points, that means 2 plus X divided by 2 has to equal -6, because that's what the midpoint is. And -3 plus Y over 2 has to equal -4, because that's the definition of midpoint. And I'm just going to solve for X and Y. So if I'm solving for X, I'm going to have to start by undoing this 2. I'm going to multiply by 2. Cancels. So I have 2 plus X equals -12. And then to get X by itself, I'm going to subtract 2 from both sides. And so X equals -14. I'm going to do the same thing for Y. I'm going to multiply by 2. Cancel out my 2. So I have -3 plus Y equals -8. And then I'm going to add 3 to both sides. So Y equals -5. So my original point would have to be -4, -5 in order to give me a midpoint at -6, -4. Okay, if you have questions on anything on the back, check out the other videos.